Hello Guildmasters, the 5th demo update for Guildrun is now live on Steam, so welcome to our patch overview. In today's patch, we fixed some high impact bugs, introduced stun changes to help endless players, and of course, more balance in hero changes. We hope that players will find that there's something for everyone in this patch. There are tons of buffs for people playing across all difficulties to explore, stun and hero changes, meant to open up new possibilities for endless mode players, and a couple of key adjustments for Red Rift gamers to reduce the number of auto pick options throughout the game. I won't go over every single change here, so be sure to read the patch notes in the description for the full list of changes. Also, I've gone 5 patch note videos without asking you to like and subscribe, so hit those buttons to keep up with us here on the official Guildrun YouTube channel. First, let's talk about stun changes. One of the hardest obstacles for players to overcome in endless mode is having their heroes repeatedly stunned. Once the snake and mushroom tanks reach high enough attack speed values, they can reach a point where they're capable of stun locking heroes out of a fight completely. Stun resistance is being introduced this patch specifically to help curb this problem. Whenever a hero is stunned, they gain a stacking stun resistance buff for 15 seconds. Each stack of stun resistance reduces the duration of stuns received by 25%, and it provides full stun immunity at 4 stacks. This only applies when a stun is actually applied to a hero. Heroes that are currently stun immune, for example, don't gain a stack of stun resistance. Heroes can acquire any number of stun resistant stacks, and the duration of each stun resistant stack is independent of other stacks, similar to how shields work. This is a pure buff to the player, as enemies will not gain stun resistance. Also, a small number of heroes are now immune to stuns while casting their active ability, which should help abilities with longer windup times feel more consistent. Yuna, Scorn, Kai, Karsu, and Tilly will all have stun immunity while casting their active ability. We hope endless players specifically enjoy this change, and please give us feedback on how it feels in-game. We also have some pretty impactful bug fixes for this patch. Revived characters will no longer lose their active effects. We fixed Ratna's fashionable specialization, not accounting for all the equipped items. We fixed characters freezing after being teleported, and now they'll correctly attack again. Kai's the bold specialization is back to stall 15. It was set to 20 in the last patch due to an error. And we fixed a pretty unique bug that would cause certain complex interactions between effects to sometimes stop midway through the execution. For example, Assassin's Elevation Prism should now properly generate shards in all conditions. We fixed a few more bugs, so read the patch notes for the full list of changes, and thank you to everyone who has helped to report issues. And please keep letting us know about bugs you find so we can fix them. Now, let's get into balance changes. A common piece of feedback we've been hearing from players is that certain class modifiers felt much more powerful than others, which could lead to situations where A and S rank up decisions didn't really feel like decisions at all. Every change in this section is a buff, and though we don't expect these buffs to completely solve the problem, we hope they're a step in the right direction towards making rank up decisions as interesting as possible. For this section, be sure to read the patch notes in the description, as I won't go over every change since there are a lot. For Assassins, Poisonous Edge and Poisonous Eye are both seeing a buff. Lurker will now give longer stealth, and Enforced Presence now gives a larger attack and magic bonus. Duelists are seeing 5 modifiers buffed, with Poisonous and Burning attacks both getting a sizable buff. Critical Timing also will have double the rush duration for its crit bonus. Mages had both Stalled Growth and Stalled Heat buff. Burning Absorption will scale better with Burn, and Magical Growth now gives a larger magic bonus. Mystic's Shield Formation now has a base shielding of 400, and the mana regen on Stall Enlightenment has been doubled. Vanguards have 4 buffs. Burning Eye, which applies burn at the start of combat, now has a base of 30 burn, while Burning Aura now scales better with HP and has a higher max burn total. Tank's Poisonous Aura has been buffed, and the Best Offense now scales better with defense. Second Wind has also had its stall duration lowered. Finally, Warriors had 3 class modifier buffs. Ranger now gives 50 attack in addition to the +1 range. Scaling Attack and Victorious Presence both had their attack bonuses increased. Now, let's talk about relic and item changes. we've changed 32 relics and items, and focused on improving the overall balance of items and relics offered by events. Similar to the class modifiers, our goal with these changes is to make decisions within events more interesting and less automatic. This means 29 buffs to underperforming relics and items, and just 3 nerfs to a few outliers. I'll highlight just a few here, so be sure to read the patch notes for the full list of changes. Rare relics with quest requirements were made easier to complete. This includes Burn, Violence, Poison, and Arcane Conduit. A ton of relics are getting their debuff and buff amount increased. Poison and Burn Bauble, Hasty and Searing Vest, Toxic Shiv and Gauntlet, and Searing Tome are all seeing buffs here. Duelist Outbreak Banner is the single biggest outlier in the data this week, outperforming all other banner relics in the game by nearly 10% in win rate. We're trying out a new design for this relic, instead of attempting to salvage what seems like an unbalanceable one. Now, whenever a duelist auto-attacks, they deal 15 bonus damage per type of debuff on their target. This new design should be much closer in power to the rest of the duelist relics than the old design was, and if it doesn't land there immediately, we're confident that some minor number changes will get us there. Now, let's talk hero balance. As with our other changes this week, these hero adjustments are primarily intended to make each B rank up moment as interesting as possible by expanding on the number of pickable specializations. Last week's mini rework of Karsu seems to have landed pretty well. We're going to leave her base kit alone for now, but we're giving her some love to her lowest performing spec, Warband. It now gives 4 attack per cast instead of 3. Ho-Young needs a bit of love too, so his least popular, Conduit spec, now gives more mana regen. Zuri is also in the same camp, so a small buff to her weakest spec, the Cruel, is in order. It now has 10 more starting mana. And one more for good measure, Nyx's spec, the Wild, needs to catch up with the others, so its attack, magic, and attack speed scaling have all been increased. Reyna's Boxer spec was simultaneously her least appealing option for Endless players, and her most appealing spec by a wide margin in Red Rift. The reason for this is that most of its power was baked into its base values, and not enough of it was baked into its scaling. She's losing base damage in exchange for more scaling. The Boxer will deal a bit less damage until Reyna reaches 135 attack, at which point it will become more powerful than it was before. Funke has been blasting through Red Rift early games, while also being one of the weakest heroes in the game for deep Endless mode runs. Just as it was with the Boxer changes for Reyna, the goal here is to move some of that early game power to Funke's late game scaling potential. His active ability Wildfire now has no more base burn amount, but the magic burn scaling has been increased. With these new numbers, Wildfire will surpass the burn of the old numbers at around 130 magic, which is quite a bit less than the average amount of magic one would expect to have on Funke by the time he arrives in Endless mode. Nicholas has landed in a great spot after the adjustments to him in the past 2 patches, and has settled in as one of the more popular and powerful characters across all game modes. We're happy with how his baseline kit is performing, but both the data and player feedback point towards his Hoarder spec as being significantly more powerful than his other options. We've now added Rush 15 to his Hoarder spec. We've also made an adjustment to the dealer so that it isn't so feast and famine. It now consistently creates an item every 4 casts instead of creating one 25% of the time. And we buffed the base damage to help give it more of an edge. And finally for Scorn, the Haughty can be a very exciting and powerful spec, but it can also feel really bad to pick up when you're limited on stall triggers. We've given it 100 base shield per rank. This change should help stabilize it a bit more while you're starting to get the stall ball rolling while making a minimal difference on its late game power. If you haven't checked it out already, be sure to join our Discord, where you can take on weekly challenges with the community. This week's challenge is the Master Mystic Challenge. We'll need to clear double or triple S difficulties to get a title using only Mystics. I've tried this before and it's both incredibly fun and incredibly frustrating. Good luck, and we'll see you soon with another Guildrun update.